Tech Hub and PwC. As we do, I will just quickly give everybody a brief, especially for those who are new to this whole segment, what the whole background is and what our objective is here. So as some of you would know, Mumbai FinTech Hub is the fintech vertical of the government of Maharashtra, and the primary focus of Mumbai FinTech Hub is to look at how they can grow the fintech sector in the state and also beyond. And one of the key strategies for doing that is through developing fintech talent and really focusing on students like yourselves who are interested in pursuing careers in fintech by giving you access to different modes of information, online courses, talks such as this. And all that comes under the flagship fintech education program called Uday. So this is, of course, the Uday Knowledge Sessions. And the whole idea of the Uday Knowledge Sessions is to invite experts from the industry in the fintech space to come and talk about the areas they focus on and really give you that unique practical perspective on what is happening. And also what are the opportunities and what are the requirements from a career perspective for you to look at. So today we are really excited to have Varun Ravichandran, AVP Go-to-Market at Vymo. Vymo, as I'm sure a lot of you know, has really carved out a special niche for itself in the enabling tech space that we track, where it uses a combination of cutting-edge AI, automation, digital technologies to really help companies with maximizing their sales productivity through some very focused, tailored solutions. Varun himself heads the go-to-market segment at Vymo, where he focuses on creating these innovations and really creating these tailored solutions to maximize value for the clients that they look at. This is the first time we're looking at a slightly different space from a fintech perspective. We've so far covered more traditional direct fintech models such as alternate lending, insurtech, and wealth tech, and so on and so forth. And we're really excited to expand into this space, which is more like a horizontal, where we'll be focusing on what the enabling tech space really means and how important the role of such enabling tech players is in facilitating the innovation that we see today. Of course, Varun will look at that and also bring his perspective from his experiences of working at Vymo and look at how we can shape that point of view through the perspective of facilitating contactless selling. So that is what we're going to be covering today. And welcome, Varun. We're really happy to have you on today as well. Just a couple of quick housekeeping pieces before I hand over to Varun. As some of you would know, we like to keep this as interactive as possible. So for those of you who have logged into your laptop, there's an opportunity for you to ask your question. So you'll see on your screen right now, there's a black button with 3 dots. You can just click on that and choose the Q&A feature. And once you choose that feature, a chat option will appear for you. And you can choose all panelists before typing in your questions so that we can see your chat and then we will pass on your questions to Varun. If you're using your phone, it's a very similar flow. So again, on your phone, you'll see the same black button with 3 dots. Choose the Q&A feature, choose all panelists, and then type in your questions. Yeah, so of course, Varun has already got a sense of the different kinds of questions you have, and he'll probably tailor his conversation accordingly. So hold off a bit in the beginning, and then you can start asking your questions, and we'll pass them on, and we'll have a conversation with Varun as the session goes on. Great, I think that's about it. So without any further ado, over to you, Varun.
Hey, thanks a lot, Avnish, for that. Let me share my screen. Let me know if you can see it.
Yep, we can see it.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. And also let me know at any point, like I said, if my voice trails off, I'll switch my mobile hotspot or something. It's been one of those days. But glad to be here and talk about Vymo and talk a little more broadly about enterprise software, sales productivity, and what the industry is, some of the trends we are seeing with an example of Vymo, right? So I don't want to talk too much about the organization I work for, but more talk about this as an example of broader trends, so which might be of more interest to you. And do reach out for more questions. I'll try not to take too long in my presentation, and we can have an interactive conversation after that. Glad to be here. Firstly, before I jump into Vymo itself, Avnish mentioned that a lot of your other conversations might have been with fintech players, etc., who are directly dealing with customers. So the B2C model is probably the prominent play in those scenarios. If you're talking to maybe a payment service provider or anybody else, right, in the fintech place. But where I come from is a broader, so it's a different sort of landscape. And my career has been in the enterprise software space. So where we sell B2B, sell to large enterprises who in turn use our solutions to sell to customers. So it's a B2B to C play, right? And why might this be a very interesting place for you as students who are going to be in the market soon to start learning more about? And I'm sure you guys already know a lot about this, so I'm just repeating some stuff here, but it's a huge and fast growing market, right? So it's a massive marketplace. Think of a lot of large tech players. So actually split in the middle between B2C providers and B2C, but we'll talk about why, and what some of the trends are, but it's a very large global market growing at a rapid pace. So this is an industry that is seeing a lot of growth across the globe, and in particular in the Asia Pac region now, as more and more enterprises want to become relevant in the modern world with lot of changes with digital transformation, etc. So they want to become relevant, and they are looking to make a lot of investments in enterprise software that can come and streamline various aspects of their business, right? And if I look at one section of enterprise software, which is customer relationship management, and which is just one aspect of what Vymo does as part of the sales cycle, $1 billion global market, right? So this is a large marketplace we're talking about. Why is this so large? Why is it growing? Some drivers are that all enterprises now are starting to focus on customer experience. And you would have heard this in various places, I'm sure, how to make the customer journey more smooth, how to make sure that we know exactly what the customer wants, and how do we treat one customer differently from another customer. And for enterprises to be able to do this, they need a lot of tools. So they need a way to onboard customers rapidly. So they need a way to engage with customers via various channels in the most smooth way for them. All of these things require tools and solutions that need to be delivered, right? So with the sort of competitive nature of the market and more focus on the customer, there is also a need for enterprise software that can come and fill that gap. E-commerce has become huge now. So we're seeing that all businesses are moving to platforms and marketplaces. And with that becomes the need for having lots of tools and technologies to keep the whole engine going, to build the platforms, to build the backend data, backend databases, to make sure it's up and running and secure, and to make sure that the payments are happening and so on. So it's not just the customer interactions, but large enterprises, as they move into these online platforms, they need to really engage with various types of solutions. And I'm just giving some trends here. So these are not an exhaustive list of trends, but just to give you some idea as to why for enterprises of all varieties and all industries, and even private sector plus public sector, it's very important that they look at all of their processes and look at ways that they can digitize them using enterprise software providers, right? And these are some reasons why they started to think like that. And the markets are becoming increasingly very competitive. A lot of consolidation in various markets, and you would have read the news today about what's happening in India as well, right? So many national plus international players getting into our markets, and for some of these legacy companies to stay relevant, to stay competitive in various industries. So we could be talking about BFSI and banks or telco. And in telco, for example, a lot of transformation is happening. A lot of legacy players are finding the business models not sustainable anymore, right? Because of these new players and over-the-top models, etc. All of these players are looking at software solutions that can come and cut down costs, streamline their processes, and make them more profitable. So the first part of this, the whole sort of customer experience angle and the competitive nature of the markets go hand in hand, right? If they don't make the customers have a better journey, so they will not stay competitive because people can switch. And so because of this and a lot more reasons, all enterprises now want to transform, and they need to digitally transform if they want to stay relevant. And so the need for players who can come and facilitate various aspects of their internal processes is now, so it's never been larger than now, right? So this is a very relevant market for you to start looking at as you look at career options down the line. And then we come to Vymo, right? So in the whole enterprise software space, there are various types of facilitators who come and help enterprises do various aspects of their business better. We play in the sales productivity space. So for large enterprises, typically we're talking about thousands of salespeople who go and sell their services or sell their products to the end customer. Let me take an insurance example, right? I mean, we work with a lot of insurance companies. As an insurance company, I might have field agents who are going and selling my insurance policies to customers at various locations. I might have partnerships with banks where at bank branches, I might have relationships with people who will source leads and then sell it to me, etc. So basically, I have a setup where I might have thousands of salespeople who are going to go and sell my product to customers in very competitive markets. Then how do I make sure that these salespeople are equipped with the right and most powerful tools that they can use to enhance that sales journey? How do they make sure that they have the capability to know exactly what product will matter to what customer, so that when a customer has multiple choices, they choose my product versus the other? How do I make sure that the salesperson is on top of all the leads and engaging at the right frequency at the right time with all of the leads to make sure that the conversion happens, right? So we don't deal with the final customers. So the insurance company's customers, who are people like you and I, is not Vymo's sort of, not the engagement of Vymo, but we work with the salespeople and with the sales leadership at these enterprises to make the entire sales process streamlined and more intelligent and contextual. I'll show a couple of examples how. And hence, by doing that, we basically make them reach more customers, more number of policies closed, more premium that they generate, etc. And we bring down their costs.
Sorry, I think did we lose Varun's audio?
Yeah, even I cannot hear him.
Varun, are you there? We can see your screen, but we can't hear you. Sorry, folks, there seems to be a bit of a technical issue. If you just give us 30 seconds, we just figure this out. Pratik, could you call Varun in the meantime or drop him a text?
Yeah.
Pratik, have you been able to? Varun, could we see your chat?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So I just
we can hear you
realized
now.
that my internet dropped. Yeah.
Okay.
So my internet dropped, so I had to connect on my phone. So I think I was here, right? And I was talking.
That's correct.
So you heard most of what I was talking about. I got here.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So I apologize. Anyway, so
No
just
problem.
moving on. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Moving on. I just so we'll just talk about how, for example, if you just take a look at what do we actually do? I mean, we are a sales assistant in the sense for a salesperson who's on the field. Take a typical salesperson who's working for an insurance company or say for a lending, retail lending salesperson who's going and selling you credit cards, etc. So you might have gone, I mean, so if you go to a mall to watch a movie, I mean, in the pre-COVID world, and hopefully at some point we'll start doing it again, have somebody at a kiosk who's going to or something of that sort, right? All of these salespeople are distributed across geographies, across India, and they all are trying to sell your products and reach more customers, reach customers with a better sort of customer experience and so on. As a salesperson, I might have, and then so I go and meet somebody at some kiosk and get their contact and they become a lead. But then to actually turn that lead into a customer, there is a long journey that we need to go through. So which is the whole lead management flow. And I might have 1,000 leads that I'm dealing with, and I'm a salesperson who's on the go, which means I'm moving from one place to another trying to sell my products. How do I plan my day for the most optimal results? And I'm just taking one example of the lead management flow. And the same can be done in various other scenarios. I'll just talk about one example, right? As a salesperson who's managing a list of leads, which might be in the hundreds, it might be in the thousands, how do I know at any point in time what lead do I need to engage with the so what lead has my attention right now? How do I categorize my leads into high priority, low priority based on various parameters? How do I sort of recategorize these over time based on whether the lead is responsive or not? And then for the salesperson, I need to know at this point of time what to do next, right? And if you go for some enterprise software tools, you get a lot of reports, you get a lot of tables. Where, I mean, if I'm a smart enough salesperson and if I have enough time on my hands, I'll be able to go and I'll be able to look at all my leads, all my opportunities, and understand exactly what I need to do next, right? But then most people don't have that amount of time. How can we look through the leads for the salesperson? Look at the leads by priority, look at the leads by where they are in the cycle, how close they are to conversion, look at parameters like when was the last time I contacted that lead and what has been the gap since then. Look at all of these parameters and nudge the salesperson saying that go and engage with this person right now, make this call right now. So that from a salesperson's perspective, it's like an intelligent sort of personal assistant. So just that the personal assistant is on a mobile app, and the assistant will tell the salesperson what needs to be done at what point of time for the maximum, for the best results, right? And so we do this in a lot of ways. We have a goal management system on Vymo where all salespeople can look at all of their sales targets and see where they're going. And if there is a risk at any point in time that they might not be able to hit their goals, we will nudge them to do the right thing so that they're on the right track. We will capture all the activity that they do in real time. So if they make a phone call to a lead, so we know automatically that you have made that phone call, and we will log that activity for you, and we will ask how the phone call went. We'll capture all of that notes, and based on all this activity information, we will link that back to outcomes, and we will learn as to what sorts of activities drive the best outcomes. So once we learn from 100,000 sales users that we work with, now we have built models where we know that if you sort of respond to a lead that comes from a web portal, so within the first 2 hours, then you have a certain percentage probability of converting that lead. But if you wait for more than 8 hours, then you have a much lower probability of converting. So we know all of this data. Based on this, we will nudge them to do the right thing at the right time. And work at the lowest level, which is at the salesperson. I mean, so our focus is not the sales leadership. Our primary focus is actually the salesperson. I mean, if we can make their life easier and if we can make their day more productive, then the benefits in terms of the number of leads that they're able to convert, the number of new leads that they're able to source will aggregate over time and lead to significant benefits for the enterprise. That's the way we work, right? And the way we think about it, so the way we think about the sales excellence world itself is that activities drive outcomes, right? And so this might seem like a very obvious thing, but then a lot of the way we look at things, we don't look at the root cause behaviors of various things and look to change that. So instead, we think that by just using some sort of a tool and using some sort of a solution, we can directly get to better outcomes. But it's a long process. So we need to first start by shifting sales behaviors. What are the salespeople doing? When do they reach out to what sort of lead with what sort of content, right? And then shape that to be better. And do that. So we do that shaping towards better behavior by nudging the sales reps. Like I said, on the app, they will have a notification saying, do this now. And if they do that, over time, they will get better in terms of the way they handle their entire pipeline of leads, nurture these leads, because we will nudge them to nurture. And this behavior shift will then down the line lead to better outcomes, right? And the bottom line here is that if we can't measure the sales activity and we can't know what the salespeople are doing, then we cannot make it better. And now a lot of enterprises have the problem that, okay, so they want to roll out some best practices, right? And they want to roll out some training programs to make our sales excellence programs, etc. But the first step is, what are the salespeople actually doing at a fine level of detail? When do they plan their meetings on the calendar? How many of the planned meetings are actually completed? That level of detail is not even there, because salespeople don't go and log all of this information somewhere in a common diary. So they have tools like Salesforce, etc., which is great, but they don't go and fill in information there. So this information on the activities is not even present. And because it's not available, so you can't learn from it. So, let's say I really do know what all my 10,000 salespeople are doing when they plan their activities and when they complete them, for example. Then I can look at my most successful salespeople and see if there are some patterns that are emerging. If the most successful salespeople are all planning their activities in the first week of the month and then completing towards the next 3 weeks of the month, and the others are not doing that, then I have a winning behavior. So, and then I can use the nudge engine to Vymo to make sure that the rest of the reps also do the same thing. So on the first week of the month, we will push a lot of notifications saying, please plan your next week's meetings now. Right? So I'm just giving one very simple example. So we make it very simple and easy to capture sales activity information. And once we have a lot of that, it becomes very easy to learn and then understand what works, what doesn't. I'm actually going to skip this so of time, because I spoke about some examples as I went along. So I had an example of how we work for a retail lending sort of example. But the point that I would like to sort of take here is that in a lot of enterprise use cases, so where we go and sell, it's very complex in terms of what the value is. And each sort of use case will have various players on their value chain, a lot of back and forth interactions. There will be third parties involved. So there'll be a lot of complexity, and it'll be very unique to different industries. So when I work in retail lending, so then when we go, so at Vymo, my team basically takes the standard Vymo offering and builds it and repackages it various industry verticals. So like we built a solution for lending. So we built a solution for collections. We built a solution for insurance, bank assurance model, and so on. So we have a set of 10 solutions that we have built for various core industry verticals, where we need to go and understand the various levers in the value chain and what are the aspects of it that we can help to streamline as a solution, and what are the aspects of it that we need to partner with third people for. And I'm just mentioning that because understand the sense of the sorts of complexities that we'll have to deal with when we go the enterprise software route. But I do understand, but I do want to jump to something else before I stop and take questions, which is that, so which is the whole core of what we're talking about, which is that, I spoke a lot about field sales and the fact that we built our app for people, nudge them to do the next right thing based on where they are, etc. Right now, then what happened is COVID happened. So about 3-4 months back, right? And then what we realized was that, so at first we thought, okay, so this is completely new because we built our solution for field sales. And now with people in a lockdown mode at home, there's no field sales. So does that mean that our solution is not relevant? We didn't believe so, but then so what we found very surprising was our enterprises reached out to us and said that they wanted to expand Vymo's usage into various channels. And the reason it sort of worked that way is because a field sales team, the core sort of challenges, so this is how we had to shift in the COVID world, right? So it's all becoming virtual. So teams are not on the field. So it's all virtual teams working from home. Very limited face time. So in terms of a lot of engagement that we would drive in terms of meetings and all that is now not relevant. And for managers, it's now very hard to get visibility and control over their teams because nobody's in the office. All people are working independently and so on. How do I coordinate? How do I collaborate? All of those are challenges. But what we realized was that Vymo was built for field sales, but then it was built primarily by field sales. What I mean was that it was built for teams that were distributed and teams that were remote. So it was built to be deskless. So in the sense that, so you didn't have to be at a location doing something with your other team members to be able to leverage the most for Vymo. Our core design principle was that it should be deskless. It was built for remote teams and it was built for large enterprises with complex hierarchies. And the fact that with COVID, and all teams now became distributed teams. All teams became remote teams. So what we found was that it's not just a standard sales use case. What we found very interesting was that call centers were reaching out to us, say for example, and saying that now our teams are all distributed. So we were all sitting at one place and using a cloud telephony, some sort of dialer to make calls. And now we're all distributed. And a lot of things that we do in terms of getting visibility and control over distributed teams, they wanted for their call centers, right? And they came to us for that. And so what we realized that, so we were designed for remote and deskless teams. And if we were able to add a few more capabilities to our toolkit, then we can truly become a valuable solution to help enterprises to deal with this new world, new shifted world, right? And so what did we do was that we went and we tried to understand what more can we add to our solution to make it relevant for contactless sales, contactless selling, So one thing is that because people can't go and meet people face to face, there will be a lot more alternate modes of communication. So literally within 2 weeks, we went and built cloud telephony capabilities, right? Where you could do a click to call. So I have a list of all my customers. I have a list of all their offers that might be relevant to them. I can just click and a call is made to them from a masked number. They get a call, I get a call back, and I can have the conversation on the Vymo app itself. And once that is done, the call recording, the call metrics are all stored, right? So we went and built it all. So we went and built a Zoom integration. So now I can't go meet them face to face, but then we have all the other tools in terms of trying to determine when to have what meeting, right? So we have the nudge engine to tell you who to meet next. So the only thing that, we didn't have at that point of time is, if I can't go and meet the person in person, so then we now have an alternate mode, which is Zoom. So we built a Zoom click to call. So on the Vymo app, I can go and have my engagement on Zoom. We also built a lot of dashboards, and what you're seeing here is one of the dashboard centers that we built where sales managers and administrators can use and upload all the team's activities from one location. Say, for example, I deal with 100 people in my team, and we have a lot of renewals coming up that we need to follow up on. We have a lot of engagements that we have to do on priority, etc. So I get full control as a manager. So I go to this command center to the console. I can just load all the activities for the day, map them to the salespeople, and at one click, so it's all loaded, and all my salespeople who are working from home at various places, they will get a notification on their app saying that, okay, so now you have this task assigned to you, start working on it, right? And then they can go and make a Zoom call, etc. So the entire sales process of planning the day, putting the sales targets for the day, making sure that you have your morning team meeting, and then going and actually engaging with customers has all become contactless by just doing a little bit of additional capabilities and remodeling the way we sort of made our core module. So we built this work from home module. So this happened about 2 months back when we went to our first lockdown in March, April, and then we launched it. And so within a month or so, one of India's largest private sector banks was using us. And now we have a bunch of others around Southeast Asia as well who use our work from home module. So this is just to say an example that in this COVID sort of world, a lot of the things that, so what we're realizing is that a lot of the old problems that we need to solve are still relevant. We still need to know who to reach out to. So we still need to segment and categorize our partners and customers correctly. So we still need to reach out to them with relevant content at the right time and so on. What has changed is the mode of engagement. And with more and more people being willing to engage in alternate modes, as long as we have our core strengths, so which is in the intelligence engine, which is trying to understand what leads to better outcomes and nudging you, then the layer to make it relevant in a contactless world was rather easy. So which is to just add the capabilities to have that engagement across channels. So this is just, so I'll take 2 more minutes to walk through one scenario. So not a demo as such, but just what I spoke about, right? So just one flow to show about how contactless sales might work. Just one scenario. So a sales manager starts a day, he loads all his list of activities. So this is a, so this is one use case of collections in the sense, so for people who don't pay back their loans, so we have agents who go and sort of try and collect the payment, right? The due payments. So this is that one scenario. So where a sales manager or a collections team manager will go and load the list of activities for the day, activities from a central console. So it then comes as a notification on the mobile app of the salesperson on the right. Then the salesperson will go into their Vymo app and they'll be able to see all of their targets and where they are on their targets, right? On the monthly targets, where they are on the targets achieved, etc. So they can start planning their day better. Okay, so I'm lagging behind on these things. Okay, so let me go and do more of certain activities. Then they can go and look at all their summaries of all their engagements, all their partners, all their tasks, and so on, which is the screenshot number 2. And then on the right is where Vymo really becomes interesting. Is that because we have full visibility into your entire engagement history, all your tasks, and so on, we can tell you what to do next, right? So we have suggestions here that you can see on the screen that we're saying that, so that's an example, right? We're saying a high-risk case which has been assigned to you is pending a visit for more than 3 days, which means that you need to go visit now, right? If it was left to the salesperson himself, he might have to go and look through all the 1,000 cases that he has assigned to him. He might have missed out on this important piece of information, but we bring it to attention, right? Then I know that, okay, so I have to go and reach out to this person. In a normal world, I would have gone and met that person, right? So I would have taken my bike or my car and gone and met that person. But now I can't. So I just go into the Vymo app. I click to call. So I call from the Vymo app. So this is not normal call because I can record the call metrics. I can have the call recording. I have the call metrics and so on, which I can use for later reference as notes. And we can learn from that to make our nudges better, right? So I can make a call from the Vymo app, or I can click to Zoom or WhatsApp. So I can meet with Zoom, have the engagement with the customer in Zoom, and from my calendar that you can see on the back, I can directly click to Zoom, right? And once I start dealing with a new lead, maybe my first interaction might have been on Zoom, but still I have an entire lead workflow to go through. That entire lead workflow can be done on Vymo. So we have the calendaring thing to make sure that my daily plan is sort of optimized. So we have all the leads categorized based on priority, so I know who to reach out to. And at each point in time, we have messages like, so you can see here, right? Application for personal loan is in the initiative stage for 3 days. Check in on this. So at various places, we nudge the salesperson to do the right thing next. So the entire lead workflow can be done remotely, right? Without actually going and meeting that person. Onboarding also can be done remotely because one of the biggest challenges might be that you must still be able to make a sale on a phone call, but you still need to sign a contract and those sort of things. But these days, even that can be moved digital, right? So we have integrations with digital signing software. So the entire contracting piece as well can be happened in Vymo. So the contract negotiation can happen inside Vymo. And not just that, but once you have onboarded the customer, you might want to give the customer some training as to how to use your product or service, right? I mean, if it's an insurance policy, let's say, so you might need to give them some guidelines as to, okay, so what are the various aspects that I have to keep in mind? So if it's a credit card that I sold to him, what are the terms of the credit card? When can I do what? And what is the payment that is due, etc., month on month? All those sort of things, I can now turn it into a learning path. So which we have done for a lot of our customers, right? So it's not just contracting. Once it's contracted and live, then we have a learning path where we take them through some courses, all again contactless. So
Varun, we seem to have lost your audio again. Can you hear us? We can see your video. Varun, I'm not sure if you can hear us. We've lost your audio. In the meantime, I've seen a few questions that have come in. I invite the participants to send their questions. Hi, Varun. We lost you for about 30 seconds. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And so my voice back now? So I'm audible now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. So that was pretty much the end. I just wanted to talk about how contactless sales process might work, not just for the prospecting and the whole part of reaching out and engaging with customers over alternate modes of communication, but the fact that all through the journey, so whether it's onboarding and whether it's engagement post onboarding, so there are various ways in which a lot of the same processes can be replicated in a contactless world. And so I just took one scenario to walk through that. I will not go into all of these details, but I'll just stop here by saying that, so what I wanted to showcase was that by building solutions like this, which make the life of salespeople better, what we do is that enterprise as a becomes more competitive in a very competitive marketplace, right? And which is why we are seeing that a lot of enterprises around the world are looking at us sort of seriously. But then more than that, I think the takeaway for you, maybe that, so when I was in business school a few years back and I was looking at options and all that, enterprise software was something that really interested me. And the complexities that we're dealing with here, making an impact, and the fact that you can actually significantly make an impact and see how that's making a shift to an organization, and some unique characteristics like the very long sales cycle, the multi-party nature of the sales cycle that we deal with enterprises and all that makes this a very interesting place for you to also consider. So I personally don't have B2C side, so it seems exciting as well to think about going and trying to open up a market where you bring in millions of customers. But at the same time here, while your number of customers might be 30, 40, or 50 enterprises, the complexity of bringing about change in those 50 enterprises is something of a whole new level. And that's what I just want to leave you with. So I'll just take this now.
Thank you, Varun. I think that was really enlightening and really nice to see the journey you've gone through, as well as the perspectives you've brought in terms of how Vymo really tackles this space. We've got some interesting questions that have come in, so I'm going to start just reading those, and happy to get your thoughts.
Sure.
So I think one thing you really touched on is, I think the whole play, if I take the liberty to maybe divide into two parts. One is the analytics play and the insight play in terms of what are the optimum suggestions on products or actions,
Right,
or next best offers, and that's something that I think financial services has been doing for the last decade. But I think what Vymo really adds is the second part as well, which is the combining those insights with your deep understanding of human behavior to nudge salespeople in the right direction and close the deal or make the right kind of behavioral changes, right? So we break it up into these two parts. The first side of on the first stage of the analytics piece, we've got a couple of questions. So there's a question which talks about, could you give a sense of what are the standard matrices that you all take into account when you look at your recommendation engines and stuff like that? And there's another question that talks about, does your whole recommendation piece and analytics sit on top of existing sales management systems? How does it work?
correct. Both very good questions. First one on what are the sort of metrics we look at. So there actually it varies from one use case to another, because the sort of metrics that matter to a bank assurance use case might not be the same that matter to a lending use case. So there what we do, and the go-to-market team that I work in, so we basically lead that verticalization where we go and understand what are the metrics that matter for each case. So I'll take an example. So if you take a bank assurance use case, so it is so basically where insurance companies sell their products via bank partnerships, right? There you have typically a salesperson who's managing relationship with various branches. So there what really matters is firstly, broadly might be questions like, how am I segmenting my branches? Are my branch segmentations matching the reality? So in the sense, I might segment a branch as a platinum branch just because it's in Bombay, because Bombay is a huge potential place, right? Say versus a smaller town somewhere. But then if that branch is not generating the right amount of business month on month, then do I go and look back at as to what am I not doing right at that branch to activate it more? Or am I, or have I not segmented it correctly, right? So branch segmentation and how that links up with actual outcomes, actual versus sort of potential is one thing we look at. And we also look at, say, for example, what are the number of policies that each of these branches have generated? How does that tie to the activity level and the engagement level at each of these branches? And using all of that, we learn the winning behaviors. What sorts of activities seem to be driving the best sort of outcomes? And when we look at this, over 1,000, 2,000 branches, over 10,000 salespeople, we can really start to get a sense of what works, what doesn't. So the sort of metrics we look at varies from one use case to another. So in a pure lending use case, we look at stuff like, we go really granular and look at stuff like, what was the time to first call? What was the time to first meeting? Right? So how many times did I follow up with the lead, right? And how does all of these intermediate steps correlate to the outcomes, right? So if I do my first call within 1 hour, is that leading to to a closed opportunity, right? And so I take all of that fine level of detail and then map it out. But broadly speaking, I think what Vymo does, which also links to your part two of your question, is that we look at outcome metrics. So we track outcome metrics because we have a goal management suite as part of our Vymo app. So we actually know what the outcome is. So we know how many leads were closed by each salesperson. We know how many branches were activated and so on, right? But we also have an activity management system where we detect and log the activity of the salesperson. So we know what he did or what she did, right? So we know how many meetings they did at what point of time and what stage of the lead cycle, etc. And that analytics is where, we have a sort of unique point of view where we know the activities and we know the outcomes. So we know how the activities are linked to the outcomes and what activities drive the better outcomes. And once we learn that over 50,000, 100,000 people year on year, and we have been running now for about 5-6 years. And when we learn that, we can pick out patterns for each industry, and then we build a playbook for that industry, saying that, okay, so for this industry use case, here are the 10, 20 basic rules which form the playbook. And if I can nudge the salespeople to follow this playbook, I'll have a material sort of shift in the outcome. That's the way we work. So so it's a long answer, but I think broadly speaking, learning the activities, tracking the standard sort of outcomes that matter for each use case, and then seeing how they correlate is what we do.
Thanks, Varun. And in fact, I think you kind of covered one of the other questions that somebody was asking, how does Vymo differentiate itself from, say, the larger CRM solutions? I think you really covered that there. And you also started talking about the second aspect of the whole nudging and incentivizing behaviors. I'm just going to, I know you've already spoken quite a bit about that, but I'll just ask maybe a follow-up question on that. And this is possibly also for some of the data files and the analytics folks on the call, students who are really interested in that space. So one is also interested to know, how do you all identify the steps to maximize the sale? So, and how do you all identify what behaviors need to be incentivized? So one is, of course, as you mentioned, you would have experts and functional people from the industry who would be part of Vymo to understand the standard sales cycle. But you also mentioned that you will clearly track behaviors, and I'm assuming based on analytics and based on possibly, do you all have any machine learning algorithms? How do you all identify what works, what doesn't work, and how have you reached to a stage right now of a much more optimum process?
Correct. I think the question and the answer is work in progress. Like all companies, so we at this point in time, so we cannot go and say that we know exactly what will work. But then what we can say is that we are learning. So with each new customer that we onboard in each new geography, we're learning as to what distinguishes the right behavior in each industry and in each location and so on. But I'll give you, so the answer is a combination of two things. Firstly, we do have industry experts who work with us to build out the core playbooks, right? So based on their deep knowledge of insurance, of banking, so we say that, okay, so, and we go and do a lot of research, of course, on an ongoing basis. We have advisory boards where we go and talk to our customers and learn what they are saying, and that can form the baseline playbook. Second step we do on that is, because we have the ability, we have data on all the activities and all the outcomes for 100,000 salespeople. We can start putting it and see if any patterns emerge. And here we do it in two ways. So at this point in time, we do have a data analytics team, which basically looks at what these scores are. And sometimes we discover what could be a very trivial things that do have a significant impact on output. Like I spoke earlier about when does a salesperson plan their meetings and so on. It seems like if you plan the meeting at a particular time of the month, so this was for one of our use cases, it seemed like you have a significant impact on the output. most of the top quartile people were doing that, right? So then we have a team of analysts who takes and looks at certain things like this, and then we go and enhance our playbooks with these new sort of findings that we have. And so a nudge engine over time keeps getting better. So we are looking at some machine learning algorithms and so on, but at this point in time, we haven't really gone down that path to an extent where we can talk about it in detail. So we are still in the early stages of identifying that. So at this point in time, our strength comes in having the data in the first place on activities, on outcomes, and then we build out sort of correlations and charts on this using tools like Tableau and Vertica. And then we have a data analyst team that takes a look at this and draws out some learnings from it. We take these learnings and run it past, and if it sort of validates it, then we push that back into our core product, so it'll come out as a nudge. So it's a work in progress. It's like a cyclical thing, and it keeps getting better with more that we do this.
No, thanks. And I think I'm really happy of the stuff you said, because that also provides us a good segue into our last segment, which is talking about skill sets and career opportunities. And just continuing with what you just mentioned, you touched upon like a whole host of different kinds of roles. There are people who are functional experts and have industry experience. There are people who have strong data skills, and you've got an analytics team as well. So just from Vymo standpoint, what are the different kinds of skill sets or roles that you'll look at when you're, or as you grow your business?
I think lot of different skill sets that will be there, and depending on sort of the profile and the interest of the students who are listening in, multiple different ways in which we can go. So let's talk about Vymo as an example. We have an engineering team, of course. I mean, so we are a tech company, so we have a core engineering team. So for any engineers out there, so in core sort of computer science skills, so there will always be good opportunities. We have a data analytics team, of course, which we are building more and more strength into. So, I mean, if you have interest in number crunching, and if you have knowledge of some of these tools, then that is not just at Vymo, but it seems to me like across the board, there's going to be a lot of opportunities in that. I mean, if you're a MBA student, so again, multiple opportunities, right? So one is, I mean, so I'll just take the example of my team, which is the go-to-market team, to just talk about the sorts of different skills that you can bring into play, right? One part of my team is the product marketing team. So for all of the industries that we go and we want to make a presence in, and for all the geographies that we want to go and make a presence in, so we need to take our product and package it in a way that makes it very relevant, very contextual, and at the same time very attractive to a customer in that industry. So tomorrow we go and we want to open up a new industry, let us say some industry in the Middle East, I mean, so which we're just starting to do now. Then our product marketing team, which has a bunch of marketers, people from MBA skills, etc. So they have to go and do the market research, understand what sort of what will be the messaging and positioning that will make most sense in that sort of a scenario, and then go and actually build all the materials and the messaging themselves, right? So build a slide deck, build a solution package, do a webinar, do a launch, etc., which is targeted for that skills. I mean, so we're talking about skills in market research, skills in marketing. One other side of it is the solutions engineering team, where you actually need to go and put together a solution that works for the industry use case. So it's a combination of engineering skills and market risk understanding, use case mapping skills. So engineers in my team will go and actually talk to customers, talk to pre-sales people, and understand the use case, and then they will come back and actually lay out what it should look like, and take the existing product and repackage it in a makes sense to that user. And then we will go and demo that, right? So skills, like, I mean, so I think in general, I mean, so I can talk about a lot of different things, and I think, I mean, so it might not be very structured answer, but I think if you have the ability to, I mean, so if I have to summarize it, I think if you have the ability to see the larger picture, in the sense of what are you trying to achieve for this organization. And whether you're an engineering person or you're a marketing person or you're a bit of everything like the go-to-market team that I do. So if you can see the larger picture as to where you want to go strategically, and also if you have the depth to be able to go deeper into so the depth might be in technology, or the depth might be in terms of going and understanding a market, right? If you can bring both of these skills to the table, then you will have a lot of opportunities in enterprise software. So one last thing is that, so as a business school student, one other area as well is that if you have strong sort of consulting type skills, a lot of enterprise software companies are looking for those sort of things as well, right? So we go and to a customer as to what is the value we bring to you. Go and understand an entire strategy as an organization and see how we as Vymo can fit into that and show them the vision as to where they can be 5 years from now. So this is what like a consultant would do, like a strategy consultant. Those sort of skills as well, a lot of enterprise software companies, especially like a customer success role, etc. So very long rambling answer. There are a lot of different skill sets that are relevant.
Yeah. So just no, thanks. I think that was really.
Yeah.
Really, thank you so much. I think that was a really helpful answer. And a common question from a lot of our students is, the whole conundrum between technical skills and having functional skills. I think you really hit the nail there as well, in terms of really having that perspective on what your clients need. And it's not just about the technical skills, but understanding that consulting framework and strategy that really brings it. So, no, thank you so much.
Right.
Anyways, that's really helpful.
And I'll just end with one line there so my own sort of journey, I started on the tech side. I'm from a computer science background and I was an engineer, and that skills actually even helps me as I want to with opening up a new market for a tech company, because the knowledge that you have of going deeper and understanding what your engineers are talking about, understanding the product will never go away. So having that and balancing that with a larger vision is, so what I was talking about. Yeah.
Perfect. I think that's a really good way to end the session. Thank you so much, Varun. I think that's been a really fantastic session. Really happy talking to you and getting your perspectives on the questions that the students had. So
thanks for having
me.
Yep.
Thank you for joining us, and thank you so much for the students who joined in and for all the interesting questions you had. We're really happy to continue to see the engagement and participation. So please continue to be part of these sessions. As with all sessions, just to sign off, we would like to hear from you, and if you have any suggestions on how these Uday Knowledge sessions work, any specific comments on this session itself, or any other topics that you all want to hear, please do reach out to us. You have our coordinates and our email addresses. But otherwise, yet again, thank you once more, Varun, and thank you so much to all the students, and have a good rest of the week. See you all in the future. Bye-bye.
Okay, thanks everyone. Bye.